What's up, everybody? Lord Ryujin here again, bringing you a question. Has anybody else have concerns like I do? Now, you're probably aware by now by the subject of the video, what I'm going to talk about in this video, but it's really more of a concern, you know? And in case you're wondering, wanting to know, a little curious about what I'm talking about, there's all these companies that are announcing systems, essentially. Um, Gabe Newell has basically said they're working on a Steambox, so that's one right there. Uh, NVIDIA, however you say it, has basically announced that they're working on a portable Project Shield, which looks interesting, but we'll get to that later. And then, let's see here. There's the Ouya, and there's that new Neo Geo that just came out, the Neo Geo X Gold. And I believe that there was another one somewhere that I'm missing. Make sure that you comment if you can think of any that I might have missed. I'm sure that there's a lot. But the point that I'm getting at is that this is just a concern of mine. Again, being an old school gamer, I kind of saw the rise and fall of a lot of consoles, you know? And the best way that I can think about this is an analogy that basically think of video game and the video game industry as a giant pool. Now, before, we had just Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony just sort of, floating around, having more than enough space for all three of them to compete, do their own thing, and not really interfere with one another. But now comes the issue that I'm concerned with, that this pool is getting a little too full. There's too many people coming out with game systems. And while naturally there's nothing wrong with this, because I love technology, I think that the idea of, what I mentioned earlier, the Project Shield, is pretty neat. It looks pretty awesome. And I think it's going to be something interesting to see, especially the Ouya as well. Technology's very interesting to me. So whenever there's somebody who basically announces new tech, whether it's Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, even if Panasonic said, hey, we're going to jump back in, if Sega said, hey, we're going to get back into the race too, I would be excited about it, regardless of who it was. So don't get me wrong, this is not a negative video in any way. It's just more of a concern. Because to me, if you have too many competitors, if you have too many people swimming around in that pool, no one knows where to jump. Right now the pool, like I said, more than enough room. Somebody can dive in, they can kind of swim around a little bit, and they can say, you know what, I really like Sony, I'm going to go hang out over here. And the same thing with third-party developers. Microsoft has the more shallow end of the pool. They don't have a lot of first-person exclusives. They don't have a lot of first-party games that are really going to draw you to the console, but they do have a lot of third-party support. While Nintendo, they're over at the deep end. They take more risks, and they have a lot of first-party exclusives that keep the Nintendo fans and keep people going back to Nintendo, but not a lot of third parties around them, which hopefully that will change, but that's another video altogether. The point is, though, is that now you have, Valve jumping in and Nvidia jumping in, and you have all these people who are jumping in. Now, where the pool's going to get too crowded, and people aren't going to know where to go. And the reason why this is a concern is because I've seen it happen before. I mean, if you look at the video game crash of 1983, one of the main concerns, at least on my part, is that it happened because there was too much. There were too many game consoles out. And just probably from the last 20 years or so, we saw something like that too. I mean, you have to look at the fact that there was, the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Sega CD, the 32X, there was the Panasonic 3DO, there was the Philips CDI, the Atari Jaguar was kind of looming around a little bit. There was, I think Sony was developing the PlayStation. There was literally all these consoles that were out, and a lot of the reasons why people have never heard of these systems is because the market was too full. How is it, it's difficult for the Atari Jaguar to get the attention that it deserved when, one, it's like a $600 system when it came out, and second, people aren't going to fill up a lot of space. I mean, because let's face it, if you ever go into a Walmart or a Target, even a GameStop, they don't exactly have this huge area to fit all this stuff. So trying to make space for, if they do decide to come out with new Neo Geo games, for example, if they do decide to come out with new ones, or even start selling the old ones, because I don't think that this new X Gold uses the old Neo Geo cartridges. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't. But if they decide to make another system, where are they going to put those? Where are they going to put these, I mean, now granted, if we start going digital, it probably won't matter so much. But the fact is that we still have a retail space available. And trying to fit, 8 to 10 some odd consoles in a tiny little space like that is really going to cause a lot of concern. And then when you got people who are just like, no. I mean, the Ouya, I think the Ouya will sell well. I mean, they said it's going to be around $100. So I can see people buying that easily. Like, hey, yeah, I'll buy the Ouya. Why not? It's $100. And I can take all my Android games over and play them with a computer. Yeah, that's great. I got a lot of really great RPG games. And I got a lot of great, just whatever reason you want. So while a lot of this stuff does sound like it's going to work, I'm just concerned. We had a video game crash that happened because of it, and just a few years ago we had a lot of companies that dropped out because of the lack of attention that they would get from the big names. So it just makes me concerned, We have Nintendo, we have Sony, we have Microsoft, and that's the way that I like it. You have 3 people swimming around in this large pool, more than enough room for them to develop what they like and to just sort of go the directions that they want to go. But now that everybody else is sort of diving in again, I worry if this is going to start confining, or if it's really even going to make a difference, if anybody is even going to notice that the Ouya came out because they're so focused on the PlayStation 4, or if anybody's even going to notice that there's another Xbox system out when they're just like, yeah, well, there's a Steambox now, so the heck with you. But this is just my opinion, of course. Make sure that you leave yours in a comment below or in a video response. But, it's just a concern of mine. That's all. Just a concern. Again, nothing wrong with technology. Not saying that at all. Love technology. Every time I see some new accessory or new peripheral or, something, I like to get on it and try it because I'm like, hey, that could be neat. I want to see how this is used. But consoles is a completely different thing. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a concern of mine because I just worry that too many people swimming around in this video game industry is going to make for a lot of pollution, a lot of third-party games, and when you have people that are just like, well, I can get this system, but and then here's this third-party game that I really want. I can get it over here for cheaper, or I can already get it because it's it's on the Steambox. I have a Steam account, so all these games can come over. So why would anybody want to buy a PlayStation or a Nintendo or an Xbox? Why would anybody want to continue to support these? And that's going to change the industry. So in one way, it's a good thing, but in another way, is it a good thing? So again, this is just my opinion. Make sure you leave yours. See you guys next time.